Prepare to receive divine abundance. Manifest miraculous blessings 100x faster in 40 days. In a quaint village nestled among rolling hills, the air buzzed with anticipation. Sarah's heart raced as she stood in the tiny chapel surrounded by families, all fervently awaiting a miracle. Her struggles to make ends meet as a single mother were heavy, yet the weight of despair began to lift as a vibrant light flickered in her spirit. The Reverend's voice boomed as he proclaimed, "Prepare to receive divine abundance in 40 days." Hope surged, igniting a fire in everyone gathered. The promise danced like starlight in the air. Could this be real? As she looked around, she saw her fellow townspeople, eyes wide with faith shimmering like dew-kissed petals in the dawn light. They clutched their rosaries tightly, whispering fervent prayers to Saint Joseph, her beloved patron saint. Sarah felt warmth spread through her, the divine presence wrapping around her like a familiar embrace. "It feels like heaven is here, doesn't it?" she murmured, and hands squeezed in agreement. Joy bubbled within her as she envisioned the miraculous gifts soon to come. But as days melded into one another, clouds of doubt began to loom over Sarah's heart. Mark, her husband, a man grounded in logic, scoffed at the notion that divine intervention would solve their mounting bills. "We need to be realistic, Sarah," he insisted. "With the car breaking down and unexpected expenses piling up, no amount of prayer will change that." Tension simmered in their home, dividing them like the storm clouds that threatened to burst. Determined to turn fate in her favor, Sarah threw herself into rational solutions: longer hours at work, budgeting tighter, even selling off bits of their furniture. Yet with each attempt, disappointment gnawed at her. The prophetic words that had once sparked a flame now felt like a distant echo. Her neighbors began to murmur when Sarah's struggles became all too apparent. "Is the prophecy a false hope?" some whispered, their faith wavering. Just when despair threatened to drown her, Sarah found herself in the chapel again, a sacred gathering of the faithful surrounding her. "Pray with me," she cried, desperation coating her voice as the congregation raised their hands in unity. As they prayed together, a silence fell, pregnant with possibility. Suddenly, amidst the stillness, something shifted in the atmosphere. A breeze tickled the window panes, and an overwhelming light flooded the room. An elderly woman in the back gasped, her hands trembling. "It's coming!" she shouted. Just then, a delivery appeared. A brown package full of unknown origins slipped through the chapel door. Gasps filled the space as Sarah, heart thumping wildly, opened the box to reveal a pile of cash and provisions. The crowd erupted into praise, arms raised as tears streamed down faces illuminated by grace. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue." In that moment of divine abundance, Sarah understood this was not merely a test of faith, but a transformative experience for the entire village. Yet, as the excitement swirled around her, lingering doubt tugged at her heart. What did this divine abundance mean? Would it heal the fracture between her and Mark? With hope and uncertainty intertwined, she fell to her knees, looking to Saint Joseph for clarity, questioning whether this was the beginning of a miraculous journey or the calm before the storm. The answer remained elusive, waiting just beyond the horizon. As Sarah knelt in reverence, the weight of her questions danced within her heart. The chapel's air crackled with an energy she had never felt before. It was as if the walls themselves breathed in unison with the collective faith of her community. The buzzing energy sent ripples across her skin, igniting a spark of hope within. Around her, the villagers celebrated, their voices lifting to the heavens like a chorus of angels. Yet Sarah's gaze remained fixed on the package. What did this gift mean for her family? It held not just material blessings, but perhaps a promise, a call to deeper understanding. "Do you think this is all for us?" she whispered to the women at her side, their eyes gleaming with tears and joy. "God is always working, dear," one replied, her voice trembling with certainty. "But we have to be ready to see the signs." In that moment, Sarah felt a shift within. Doubt began to fade, replaced by a resolve to trust the divine plan. Perhaps the miracle was not just in the provision but in the faith being reignited in the hearts of so many. Could this be the divine wisdom unearthing itself in their lives? Days turned into nights filled with prayer and reflection. Sarah immersed herself in hope, scanning her heart for clarity and guidance. Each morning, she placed a little of the money from the package in the church's charity box. It was a small act, but one that burrowed deeper roots of gratitude and love. With every coin she released her fears, entrusting Saint Joseph to lead their family through this challenge. Mark remained skeptical, battling his inner turmoil. One evening as they sat at the kitchen table, the air thick with unspoken words, he noticed a change in Sarah. Her eyes sparkled with a light that hadn't been there before. "What is it, Sarah?" he asked, a mixture of irritation and disbelief in his tone. "I feel differently, like there's hope again," she replied softly. "I believe we can get through this." "Hope won't pay the bills," he muttered, but there was a tremor in his voice that hinted at his own longing for faith. Sarah reached out, her hand resting upon his. "Faith can guide us. Just look at the blessings we've received," she urged, her heart full of determination. A flicker of interest crossed Mark's features. "Those were just an anomaly," he replied, searching for reassurance in his rational mind. Yet, even as he spoke, Sarah could see a thread of curiosity weaving through him. Days after, something miraculous happened. The doorbell rang, slicing through their usual rhythm. Standing at the door was an old friend of Mark, someone they hadn't seen in years. He extended a hand, holding a job offer that felt tailor-made for Mark's skills. "I thought of you when this opportunity came up," he said, eyes bright with excitement. Could this be another thread in the tapestry of their lives, woven by divine hands? Hope fluttered in Sarah's chest. "Maybe, just maybe," Mark began, looking at Sarah, "this is a part of something greater." Together they shared a moment wrapped in newfound possibilities. However, Sarah felt another wave of uncertainty crashing gently against her dreams. If Mark accepted the job, would it mean more time away from home? Would the gap between their hearts widen once more? Sarah swallowed, her faith swelling within her even as questions loomed. The swirl of anticipation hung heavy in the air, whispering assurances that the divine was moving, guiding them towards their paths. As she glistened with hope, uncertainty lingered tightly to her heart. Would their lives transform in the days to come? The promise of divine abundance beckoned, thick with potential. But what new challenges awaited them just around the corner? The mysteries of God's plan loomed larger than ever. The days that followed were a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Sarah busied herself with chores, her mind flickering to that moment of possibility. It felt as if the universe was aligning, coaxing Mark toward a new chapter. Yet, the weight of her concerns tugged at her heart. Mark embraced his friend's job offer, a step into a world so unfamiliar to Sarah. Each morning he left before dawn, and the quietness of the home wrapped around her like a blanket, heavy and warm. She missed his laughter, the banter over breakfast, the shared moments of prayer before a busy day began. But this work, perhaps, could rebuild what had seemed lost. She leaned into her community, attending prayer meetings with renewed fervor. The congregation swelled, each soul bringing stories of hope and miracles. Sarah found herself lost in their testimonies, how prayer had turned their lives around, how faith had met them in their darkest hours. She couldn't help but feel a tug on her heartstrings, weaving her deeper into the tapestry of faith. One particular evening, as the sun dipped low, casting hues of gold and crimson across the sky, she sat in the small chapel once again. Her eyes closed, the warmth of the candlelight flickering about her. "Lord," Sarah murmured, "I know you are working in our lives. Show me how to embrace this gift you've given us. Help me trust even amid the unknown." Just then, a gust of wind swept through the open windows, dancing with the lingering scent of roses. In that moment it felt as though God was breathing through her, displacing her fears with whispers of solace. She surrendered her uncertainties to him, feeling lighter, her spirit lifted. As she opened her eyes, she noticed a woman seated across from her, a stranger, with eyes that sparked with compassion. The woman smiled knowingly, as though she could see the barriers Sarah was breaking down just by being there. "Your faith is beautiful," she said softly. "It radiates from within you." "What do you see?" Sarah asked, her heart eager for affirmation. "I see a light," the woman replied, her gaze unwavering. "You carry not only your own burdens but also those of your family." Trust in what is coming. God's plans often unfold when we least expect it. With that, tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes. The connection felt divine, and she knew in that moment that the fears about Mark's new job were not hers to carry alone. They were woven into a larger story, one where prayer and action danced together. When Mark came home that evening, a spark lit up his eyes as he spoke of his day. There was energy in his voice, a passion he hadn't had in years. He shared how well he was fitting into the team, how his ideas were resonating. As he spoke, Sarah could see the hope in him transforming doubt into faith. Maybe this really is part of something greater, he echoed her earlier words. They embraced, a oneness forming between them, a commitment to nurture their bond, even in the whirlwind of new adventures. Yet, just when they thought they were stepping onto solid ground, a message from the church office arrived. There was talk of a community gathering, but this time it was about potential changes. Rumors of needing to fund a new project that could drain the congregation's finances hung in the air. Sarah felt that familiar tug of tension within her stomach. What if we can't afford to support this? She voiced, her fears resurfacing like waves crashing onto the shore. Mark paused, searching her face. But what if these challenges are the very test of our faith? Sarah looked out the window, where the sunset's glow was beginning to fade. Then we either rise together or let our worries pull us apart, she whispered, contemplating the weight of what lay ahead. Could this be another woven thread in God's grand tapestry? Even amid their uncertainties, the promise of divine abundance danced just out of reach. What new surprises awaited them? And how would they navigate the looming test of their faith? The mysteries of God's plan echoed once more, leaving them both yearning for answers. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself at a crossroads, balancing her fears and the promise of new possibilities. Each prayer meeting felt like stepping into an oasis of hope, but the challenge looming over the congregation only intensified her anxiety. Could they face this financial burden together? Was faith enough to carry them through? One evening after a long day, Sarah took a moment to breathe in the garden. The flowers were beginning to bloom, and the gentle hum of the bees danced around her. She focused on the sound, letting it fill her with a sense of peace. God, show me where to walk, she prayed softly. Just then, Mark joined her outside, his brow slightly furrowed. Hey, I was working on something today, he began, a touch of excitement in his voice. My boss mentioned a grant the company could apply for. It might be just what we need. His enthusiasm spread warmth through her chest. That is wonderful, Mark. But her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping back. But what if it's not enough? He finished for her, a knowing look in his eyes. You know, we can't keep thinking this way. Let us try to believe that even the smallest effort can lead to something great. They shared an understanding in that moment, a bond forged through faith and the unknown. If they were to navigate this challenge, they needed to replace doubt with trust. With renewed determination, they decided to take it step by step. As the next prayer meeting approached, Sarah felt the stirrings of hope inside her, transforming worry into anticipation. They believed together in the power of unity. On the night of the gathering, the church filled with familiar faces, eager hearts, and a shared spirit. The pastor's voice echoed through the hall, calling everyone to lean into faith. Tonight, he said, we're not just here for ourselves but for each other. Let us pray over this challenge, believing that God's provision will meet our needs. As they prayed, Sarah looked around. She saw faces etched with concern but also ignited with determination. In their collective whispers rose an unyielding resolve. Of all things, she felt emboldened by the spirit of community. Lord, let your light shine through us, she whispered, adding her heart to the chorus. Once the prayers concluded, the pastor invited anyone willing to share ideas or testimonies. A ripple of voices began to emerge, stories of past struggles, moments of divine intervention, and recollections of times when faith forged paths through darkness. Each testimony felt like a brick laid down, building a strong foundation against doubt. When it was Mark's turn to speak, he stood tall. We each have a role in God's plan. I believe that as we step forward, faith will guide our paths. His eyes shone as he spoke, igniting inspiration in the room. His words hung in the air, a reminder that in unity blessings could flourish. After the meeting, people lingered, sharing ideas, brainstorming ways to support the church's potential project. Sarah felt buoyed by the excitement swirling around her. It wasn't just talk. It was the fruit of belief taking root. She and Mark began crafting ways to engage others in acts of giving and service, not just financially but with their hearts. However, as days passed and excitement swelled, whispers of uncertainty returned. A disquieting thought danced in the back of Sarah's mind. What if the challenges were indeed insurmountable? Standing in her kitchen, she glanced at the half-finished serving bowl marked for the upcoming fundraiser. What if it all crumbles? She murmured. Mark, overhearing her doubts, paused. He approached and gently took her hand. What if it doesn't? He countered, a smile creeping into his eyes. Let us trust that God has a plan. We're yet to see a richer tapestry waiting for us. Sarah felt the warmth of his faith surrounding her. Maybe it was time to stop fearing the storms swirling about and start embracing the potential rainbows on the other side. Their collective journey was moving forward, but Sarah couldn't shake the questions bubbling beneath the surface. Could they truly navigate this trial without faltering? As hope flickered like a candle, the larger question loomed. How would God reveal his abundance into their lives and community? And what miracles awaited just beyond their grasp? The next morning, sunlight spilled into Sarah's kitchen, igniting the world outside with a shimmer of fresh possibilities. She stirred her tea, letting the warm steam rise as she thought about the prayer meeting from the night before. Her heart was still full, buoyed by the hope shared among friends, yet shadows of doubt lingered like stubborn clouds. Lord, you've brought us this far, she whispered, still seated at her table. Please show us your guidance today. A simple prayer, yet it carved a path open in her heart, seeking a clearer vision. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sarah took to her day, deciding to walk through town and feel the pulse of the community. Each step was light, but the worry clung to her like a second skin. She stopped to admire the vibrant market stalls, filled with blooms and bright fruits, but her mind roamed towards the looming financial challenge they faced. Suddenly, she spotted a small flyer pinned to a post. Community fundraiser. Together we rise. The word together bloomed in her mind like the flowers around her. An idea sparked. What if they created a larger event? A gathering of neighbors who could come together, giving not just money but their time and skills. That notion blossomed in her spirit, and she rushed to find Mark, who she knew would embrace the moment. Just then she spotted him chatting with Mrs. Parker, an elderly lady who had always offered her wisdom and kindness to the congregation. Mark, she called, waving him over. When he reached her, his forehead glistened with excitement. Sarah, I just spoke with Mrs. Parker about song donations for the event. She has this amazing talent for organizing people. I have an idea, Sarah said, her heart racing. What if we turned this fundraiser into a community celebration? Food, music, games, something everyone can enjoy. It'll draw in more people and raise awareness. Mark's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. If we can engage the community, they might feel connected enough to contribute, not just financially but emotionally too. They hurried back to Mrs. Parker, who was delighted by their enthusiasm. Count me in, she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with joy. I'll reach out to some local musicians. We could have an afternoon filled with music and fun. As they brainstormed ideas and organized plans, Sarah felt something shift within her. The prospect of gathering their community wrapped her in the warmth of hope. But still, in the quiet corners of her mind, shadows of fear whispered. What if they didn't raise enough? What if their efforts fell flat? Mark noticed her hesitance. Sarah, look at this energy. It's contagious. God has brought us here, and we're moving together. Let us trust him for the results. Our part is to act in faith. She nodded, absorbing his words like a balm. Yes, the road was uncertain, but perhaps that uncertainty was where faith truly thrived. They hugged Mrs. Parker, their plans now set in motion. The anticipation of what was to come wove into the fabric of Sarah's thoughts. In the days that followed, the community began to respond. A flurry of volunteers offered their services. Bakers pledging goodies, artists keen on decorating, and even children promising to perform skits. Each small commitment felt like a thread pulled tighter, weaving together a tapestry of shared purpose. On the night of their meeting, as they recounted their ideas, Sarah finally felt the tightness in her chest ease. While the fears had not vanished, they were eclipsed by the bright spark of connection igniting all around her. Let us pray, Mark suggested, clasping everyone's hands tightly. The Lord has walked with us thus far. Let us give this to him, trusting in his abundance. As they bowed their heads, a hush swept through the room, an air of expectancy joining their whispers. It was a moment filled with the breath of God, a stillness before the storm of love and effort they were unleashing into the world. When they opened their eyes, a sense of collective assurance washed over them. Could this be the move that revealed the divine abundance they sought? As Sarah returned home that night, she stood at her window, watching the moonlight dance on the surface of her garden. It felt as if the universe was whispering, "Hope, young heart, for what is yet to bloom." Yet deep within, the question was still there, lingering like a sweet fragrance. What divine surprises awaited them at the fundraiser? And would their faith unlock the miracles they so desperately sought? The days flew by, each one bathed in a spirit of joyful anticipation. The community gathered with energy, forming a whirlwind of activity, decorating, baking, rehearsing. Sarah watched it unfold with eyes wide, her heart swelling with gratitude. They were more than just neighbors. They were becoming a family bound by purpose. Yet, as the days dwindled down to the eve of the event, shadows began to creep back into the corners of her mind. She had taken note of the whispers through town, uncertain murmurs about what might happen. Would they really gather enough support? The questions clung to her like morning mist, dampening the vibrant colors of hope that surrounded her. That night, with the event looming ahead, Sarah sought refuge in her small prayer corner. Flickering candles sent soft shadows dancing on the walls, creating a sacred atmosphere. She knelt, palms open, and whispered, "Lord, I need your strength. I feel the weight of doubt creeping in. Help me remember why we started this journey." The silence wrapped around her, gentle yet heavy. For a moment, Sarah felt overwhelmed by the vastness of her worries. What if people didn't show up? What if they didn't raise enough funds, or worse, what if their efforts ended in disappointment? Just as despair began to settle in, a thought surfaced, breaking through the darkness. But what if, through our efforts, you reveal a greater blessing? It danced in her mind, a possibility blooming where hope had once faltered. Peace washed over her like a gentle tide, pulling back her anxieties. With determination rising, she stepped back into the present, recalling the faces of those who had joined her in this effort, the smiles, the laughter, the shared energy. Each person brought a gift, not just to the event but to her spirit. They weren't just raising money. They were building a community of believers, uniting hearts for a heavenly purpose. "We are the vessels of change," she murmured aloud, her spirit reviving. The next morning broke with golden sunshine, illuminating the day of the fundraiser. Sarah woke to the sounds of excitement filling the air. Laughter floated through her window as neighbors gathered early to set up. She dressed quickly, her spirits lifting as she joined them as they arranged tables under brightly colored banners. A buzz of anticipation filled the atmosphere. The scent of fresh-baked goods wafted through the air, mixing with the lively tunes of musicians warming up in the background. Faces beamed with eagerness, chatting and sharing stories, creating a beautiful tapestry of shared dreams. Just then Mrs. Parker approached with a warm smile. "Sarah, you should see this. People have begun to arrive. There are families coming from all around." Her eyes sparkled with joy. Faith tingled in Sarah's veins. "Do you think," she hesitated, hope mingling with caution, "do you think we'll reach our goal?" "Let us pray," Mrs. Parker suggested, slipping her arm through Sarah's. They stood together, surrounded by the laughter and light, and the two women closed their eyes. "Lord, we surrender this day to you. Bless our efforts with your abundance, and may we see your hand at work." As the prayer echoed softly, Sarah felt something change in the very air. A stirring of excitement, as if heaven itself leaned in to listen. It was thrilling and a bit scary, but she knew deep down, God was in the midst of their gathering. With a smile bursting forth, Sarah turned to the crowd. It was her moment, and she could almost hear the whispering winds of hope reaffirming her faith. As people began to filter in, an unfathomable joy gripped her heart. It was happening. But as the first guests mingled and the festivities began, a quiet uncertainty nudged at her. How much good could they truly do? What awaited them by the end of the day? The promise of divine surprises lingered in the air like an unbroken seal. Could this be the moment she had been waiting for? The turning point where faith woven into community sparked extraordinary blessings? The sun climbed higher, infusing the day with warmth and light. Sarah moved through the bustling crowd, her heart beating in rhythm with the joyful laughter surrounding her. People mingled, sharing stories and laughter, a tapestry of life woven tightly together that pulsed with hope. It felt like more than just a fundraiser. It felt like a revival. Sarah watched as children darted around, their giggles like music in her ears. It reminded her of her own childhood, carefree and filled with wonder. A familiar figure caught her eye: Mr. Thompson, the elderly man from down the road. He had rarely ventured out lately, his body frail and tired. But today he stood tall, a bright smile etched across his weathered face. As he approached her, his presence was like a breath of fresh air, and she felt a warmth radiate from him as if he were soaking in the sunlight that poured over them. "Sarah," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "thank you for bringing us all together. Feels like family today." Her heart swelled. "It's all of us, Mr. Thompson. We're in this together." His eyes twinkled as he looked over the gathering. "I've seen a lot of things in my life, dear. But this is something special. It is a reminder of what it means to belong, to hope." Tears pricked the corners of Sarah's eyes as she absorbed his words. She turned to the horizon, where the distant hills stood like sentinels, holding secrets and promises of better days ahead. "Lord, I feel you here," she whispered. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the center of the event. Sarah turned to see a line forming at the food stall where the homemade goods lay displayed like treasures. People eagerly shared their treats, laughter rising with each conversation. It was a feast, not just of food but of fellowship, an outward sign of the love they held within. As the gathering continued, Sarah caught snippets of conversation that illuminated her spirit. "I heard about the family in need," whispered one woman. "Those kids deserve a chance." Another added with fire in her voice. The unity and purpose stirred something deep within her, reminding her why they came together in the first place. Yet amidst the joy, Sarah couldn't fully shake the tightness in her chest. What if their efforts weren't enough? Was she foolish to dream so big? Just when those doubts began to whisper again, she spotted a group of friends, arms linked, rallying with encouragement. Their laughter blended with the music, creating an atmosphere that vibrated with positivity. Each sound was an affirmation, a reminder that together, they could face anything. Suddenly, the air shifted, and Sarah felt a presence unlike any other. It was a gentle breeze, rustling through the leaves above, a divine caress, assuring and strengthening. Her worries began to dissolve in the face of this palpable grace. "Let us remember, we are here to make a difference," Sarah declared, raising her voice to be heard over the throng. "Together we can amplify God's love in our community." The crowd responded with cheers, and in that moment, Sarah realized who they truly were. They were not just gathering for an event. They were igniting a movement, a spark that had the potential to light the way for so many. Hearts were intertwining, souls were igniting, and it was only the beginning. But as the celebration continued and anticipation built, a stirring in the atmosphere beckoned her to something greater. Would their intentions open a door to the miraculous? What was God about to reveal in their midst? In the distance, dark clouds gathered unexpectedly, a stark contrast to the vibrant day. Would they weather the storm ahead? Sarah stood at the threshold of a powerful moment, her heart pounding with both excitement and apprehension. Could this event be just the beginning of an extraordinary journey? As Sarah stood amidst the gathering, the shift in the atmosphere was undeniable. An unsettling tension wrapped itself around her, as dark clouds loomed in the distance, but the crowd seemed unaware, their joy untamed. She felt a deeply rooted connection to the people around her, fortified by shared dreams and tender hopes. The laughter and chatter swirled around her like a sweet fragrance, but her heart and her spirit danced on the edge of something unknown. "Sarah!" A voice broke through her reverie. It was Jessie, her friend and fellow organizer. Her eyes sparkled, betraying her excitement. "You won't believe what just happened. We just hit our first donation goal. And there's still so much time left." Sarah's heart raced with hope. "Really? That's amazing. Not just amazing, it's miraculous." Jessie beamed, throwing her arms wide as if to embrace the event itself. "People are opening their hearts like never before. It's as if the Lord is moving among us." The way Jessie animatedly spoke made the worries dance further into the background. The unexpected news threaded a vibrancy through the crowd, adventuring into the possibility that they could exceed their wildest expectations. Yet, Even amidst her friend's enthusiasm, the clouds lingered like a whispering reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. In an instant, the wind shifted again, carrying with it a feral energy. Sarah turned to watch the clouds darken further. The tension in the air was palpable. "Jessie," she called, her voice trembling slightly, "do you feel that? It's like the air is charged with something more than just excitement." Jessie nodded, her brow knitting in thought. "I do. But I also think it's a sign of what's to come, something powerful, maybe even transformational." The crowd began to quiet, sensing it too. Conversation stilled like a record scratched by an unseen hand. Eyes turned skyward as thunder rumbled softly, rolling in the distance like echoes of God's voice. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation. "We can't let fear overshadow our purpose," Sarah reminded them, her voice kind but firm. "What we've built here in the sunlight can withstand any storm." Her words brought a flicker of reassurance, heads nodding in agreement as hope threaded its way back into hearts. But within her mind, doubt still danced. Was she really equipped to lead them through this? "Sarah!" A voice rang out, drawing her attention away. It was Mr. Thompson, who had found his way back to her side. "You're the heart of this gathering." His voice, strong despite his frailty, radiated conviction. "Trust in what brought us here. You will lead us through, dear." His words ignited something within her. She felt a surge of hope burst forth, warming her heart and chasing away the remnants of her fears. Looking out at the congregation, a spark ignited in each face, a flicker of determination. "Let us stand in unity," she called, her voice rising with fervor. "Storms cannot break our spirit. We are here by divine appointment, destined for greatness, and nothing can extinguish that flame." As the last words left her lips, lightning forked across the sky, illuminating everything around them with a brilliant flash. Gasps rippled through the crowd, both awe and fear entwined like vines, but Sarah remained steadfast. "Be still and know that He is with us," she proclaimed, standing tall under the gathering storm. "In every moment of chaos we will hold tighter to our faith. Together, we will see the miraculously impossible made real." With her heart lifted high, she joined the chorus of voices around her, their faith intertwining into something tangible, a wave of light against the encroaching shadows. They lifted their voices in unison, singing praises that reverberated through the air, an anthem of love and resilience. But amidst the fervor, a question echoed within Sarah. Was the storm a signal of God's impending manifestation, or a test of their faith? And if it was both, what awaited them on the other side? Would they uncover the deeper miracle hidden in obedience and trust? The clouds moved closer, shifting the mood as anxieties rippled through the crowd again. As they prepared to face the storm, hope mingled with uncertainty, framing the questions of what God was about to do next. As the rumble of thunder grew louder, Sarah felt an electric energy pulse through her veins. The crowd was no longer just a collective of individuals. They were a living tapestry of hope, woven together by their shared purpose. Sarah marveled at the way their spirits seemed to rise and intertwine like the curls of smoke from a joyous fire. They were standing on the precipice of something grand, and yet that very proximity to the divine left her heart racing both with excitement and trepidation. The wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of rain and earth, invigorating her senses. "We are close to something monumental," she whispered to Jessie, who stood beside her, eyes flashing with fervor. Jessie nodded gravely, yet her smile betrayed an unwavering faith. "Look at them, Sarah," Jessie said, gesturing toward the gathering. "They believe. We must believe too." With every heartbeat, unease sidled up to joy. Sarah sensed the very presence of God woven through the atmosphere like golden threads, shimmering in the tempest. But there was uncertainty lurking. Could they truly weather this storm and emerge together, transformed by the experience? Just then, a shout from the back of the crowd captured her attention. A young boy, no older than 8, was weaving through the throng, his small frame a beacon of innocence and zeal. "Mom! Look!" he called out, pointing skyward with wide eyes. "God's here with us." His words cut through the heaviness, striking a chord deep within Sarah. A chorus of amens rippled through the group, mingling with the crackle of electricity in the air. Somehow this child was a vessel of truth, piercing through the doubts like a ray of hope's light. Suddenly, the first heavy drops of rain splattered against the ground, splashing around them like blessings falling from heaven. Gasps turned into murmurs of relief. The tension in the air lifted slightly, replaced with a sense of sacred expectancy. "Let us sing," Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with a radiant urgency. "Let the raindrops remind us of every promise God makes, flowing to us like rivers of grace." In that moment, she led the crowd in a song of surrender and adoration. Their voices rose in unison, harmonizing with the elements around them. The rain began to wash over them, not as a burden but a clear cleansing flow. It felt like the Lord's presence enveloping them, soaking into every crack of doubt, every kernel of fear. Lightning pierced the sky again, illuminating the gathering like the divine spotlight of love and power. Sarah's heart thudded in rhythm with the beat of the storm. Her spirit soared as she realized the union of faith within her community. The sound of voices echoed through the downpour, vibrant and alive, each word a declaration of trust. But even amid their praises, Sarah could feel the pressure building within the new possibility that awaited them. What if, she breathed, her mind racing, what if we are meant not just to survive this storm but to emerge stronger, somehow changed? Could this be the moment of divine intervention? The collective energy in the air felt palpable, their voices nearly anointed with the possibility of abundance. Together, they sang as if they were moving mountains, as if they could unlock the gates of heaven with their faith. As the storm raged on, the crowd pulsed with uplifting energy, channeling their collective hope towards the approaching dark clouds. The holy spectacle stirred a deeper realization in Sarah, a revelation that some storms are sent not to break us, but to bless us. But as she gazed upwards, a new question crept into her heart. What awaited them on the other side of this storm, both as individuals and as a community in faith? Little did they know, the path ahead was lined with destiny, one that would challenge their understanding and transform their very beings. Would they be ready to embrace the blessings God had in store for them? As the rain poured down, a mingling of exhilaration and trepidation filled the air. Sarah stood firm, her heart racing, knowing that the storm was a divine cauldron, stirring faith and fear into an elixir of hope. The congregation, drenched but undeterred, sang louder, their voices soaring high above the thunder's growl like a chorus of angels pleading for heaven's attention. "Every drop is a blessing," a woman shouted with glee, raising her hands toward the sky. "Thank you, Lord." With each flash of lightning, Sarah felt the electric current of connection coursing through her, binding everyone together like the threads of a beautifully woven tapestry. As the rain fell heavier, it created a rhythm, a sacred beat that resonated deep within her soul. "This is it," she thought. "This is the moment we've been waiting for." Just when doubt threatened to creep back in, Sarah clutched Mark's hand tightly beside her. They exchanged a glance filled with unspoken understanding. He nodded, a silent agreement that they were in this together, ready to face whatever God had in store. It was an awakening. Their struggles had never been just burdens but vessels of transformation. "Let us move forward, united in faith," Sarah called, her voice rising above the sound of the rain. They stepped forward, encouraging everyone to gather around, creating a protective circle, a shield against the storm. Suddenly, an incredible hush fell over the crowd, as if heaven itself was leaning in to listen. "We are not merely participants in this storm. We are its conquerors. God is shifting our hearts and opening doors." Sarah's words echoed fervently with newfound energy. The crowd began singing a powerful song of faith that echoed through the tempest. The sound of their voices intertwined with the storm, a magnificent symphony of human spirit meeting divine will. Amidst it all, an unmistakable warmth enveloped Sarah, a surge of love and peace washing over her like the rain itself. She turned towards the dark clouds swirling above and shouted, "You will not defeat us. We stand believing." And with that declaration, the sky seemed to respond. A sudden break in the clouds appeared, allowing rays of golden sunlight to pour down over the gathering, illuminating their upturned faces. Gasps of awe rippled through the crowd as the first rainbow arched gracefully across the sky, a divine promise revealing itself in vivid colors. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks, but they were tears of pure joy and gratitude. "Look, God is here. He is confirming our faith." Her heart swelled at the sight of children dancing in the rain, laughter ringing out as they chased one another with pure delight. Around her, the crowd erupted with shouts of praise as realization swept over them. The storm had not come to challenge their faith but to ignite it, to unleash the bounty of blessings that had been gathering like clouds overhead, waiting for this very moment to pour down. "There is hope. There is abundance," Mark shouted, embracing Sarah as the two were engulfed in a wave of warmth and love from their fellow believers. It was no longer just a fundraiser, it was a celebration of their journey, a manifestation of their collective faith and unwavering trust. As the sunlight poured forth, illuminating their surroundings and washing away the darkness, Sarah knew this experience was more than just a moment. It was a transformation that would resonate through their lives and the heart of their community. "We will carry this light home," she declared. "Every heart changed today will be a beacon for those who feel lost among the storms." And as the congregation began to share their stories, their hopes and their dreams, each voice added to the symphony of faith that had sparked in that very downpour. Miracles of provision swirled around them, weaving every individual into the fabric of divine purpose. In the weeks and months to come, not only would their fundraising exceed expectations, but the bonds within the community would deepen. With every shared meal, every helping hand, every prayer uttered, they transformed their small village into a living testament of God's love and provision. Sarah frequently found herself in that small chapel, where the echoes of their faith had taken flight. And amidst the prayers and celebrations, she recognized that they were no longer just a congregation, they were a family united under God's sheltering grace. The storm had healed them, revealed their purpose, and lit a path into their futures, each step another echo of unwavering faith. And now they knew God was just getting started. If you felt the warmth of God's love within this story, you need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't you dare miss the next exclusive faith stories that will keep your spirit ignited. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is critical to spreading these messages of hope. Comment below your reactions, testimonies, and uplifting stories that reflect your faith journey. We want to hear how this message touched your heart. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this manifestation of divine abundance. Don't wait even one more second to spread the word. Only true servants of God understand the impact of these actions. Let us illuminate the world together.